Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it's Tuesday, Veterans Day. Hopefully you said thank you to a veteran. These guys, served our country, put their lives on the line, and did a great job so we could, go about our life and our business and have the, free United States of America that some people don't appreciate. As far as our markets are concerned, pretty quiet day, but there was definitely lots to do, lots under the surface. I feel like today was one of my better days as far as finding technical plays and staying with some, leaving some, and let's just get right down to it. You go to the chart of the spiders and you'll see that, just to make a long story short, you had your V bottom, which was fast and furious. You had your gap up once we reclaimed the 200-day, another gap up right here. Another gap up. This was the first time that had a partial fill, and ever since then we've slowed down. And you have a slow grinding. Some people are calling this an ascending channel, which it is. And these typically do break to the downside. But if you anticipated it, here or here or here or here, chances are you're not sticking with it. So we'll see what happens. At this point, I'm not seeing any true signs to get out of Dodge. I know that DeMarc, sent out a sell signal today, and there was definitely, it's definitely long in the tooth. But again, we could just go sideways now for a while and then continue or retrace a little bit. And if we retrace a little bit, there still will be some stocks you could own and some things to have just less of, and things that tend to go up when the market goes down. So pick your passion or pick wherever you want to be. Let's look at the Qs. Qs. This doesn't look too toppy to me, not even extended anymore. Big digestion for the past week, nudged above the prior high. This looks like it could extend. The IWMs, what'd you do? Also, I look at this, granted, sometimes it gets extended, but then once you get extended and then you digest for 6-7 sessions, that's what refuels a move. This is what burns off in overbought condition. So we're still above the 8-day. There's still a lot more to like constructive-wise than not to like. So, I still think that looks decent. You go to the XLFs. Also, red day, big deal. Look how extended it is. And then, you go to even some bean down sectors. For some reason, I got notes galore today on how they think, oil capitulated and today was a higher low and that you could be involved in oil names. I'm not so sure, but I will say that, the XLEs held higher again. Last time you had this, somewhat of an outside day, you had a little follow through and then it went higher. This time you had your small outside day after a big move and it held higher. So who knows? Maybe it's still stair-stepping higher. It's still above this trend here. Looks okay. You look at the USO. It did. I guess you can call this a double bottom. It doesn't. To me, it needs a lot more. Has a lot more to prove. You don't have to be like a hero here. You still have to clear that. You still have to clear that. So I guess it was better to be a buyer versus seller into support for now. But we'll see if this could get going and break a descending channel. Also, got to hand it to some guys on the floor today. They were telling me that they want to fade the dollar, and you look at UUP. There wasn't really a heck of a lot to do there as far as fading it, but better to fade it than to buy it. Still above the 8-day. See what happens there. As far as gold's concerned, this is very erratic and from day to day is tricky, and I guess you got to say that you do have this lower pivot now being put in place. You had a close on the highs and then a trap lower and then a close semi on highs. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe there's another trade through this to get to another gap fill. What the GDXs bounced back pretty quick, which is giving a little bit of a sign that there's some appetite down here, I guess. Took out yesterday's high. Still choppy. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a red day tomorrow and then we got to figure out what's next. I actually bought a little silver. Don't love it, but I guess if you want some kind of exposure to the metals, you could buy a lot of this, and it doesn't move around that much. This actually traded above this small pivot here, so you have a flag continuation. We'll see what happens here next. Just have some. I bought it around I think like 1505. It did hit 1520-ish and pulled back near the close. I think it looks okay. Then you go into individual stock land. Recently I've talked about how I think in social you have Facebook and Twitter vulnerable, that are below 40. Maybe you can get a cute short. I know I didn't do it, but some people made some money, for this gap fill. And now with analyst day tomorrow, who knows? It was a decent small cap. Like, look at this. If this trend broke right there, That was your out well before earnings. Then on earnings, it wasn't so great and never filled the gap, and it's been trending lower. So what did it do today? Filled this gap, gave you a small little red dog reversal. I don't know what to make out here, but I'm not taking this thing short. You know, some guys did it intraday and covered on this morning strength. If it were to get above this small descending channel, and maybe they say something nice on Analyst Day about their MAUs or whatever it is, I still think there's a future in Twitter, and I don't think it's a new lows type of vehicle like some think. So we'll see what happens here next. Facebook, if you're on the virtual trading floor, you saw I did make some money short here. There was a decent trade once it traded below yesterday's low, which was 74.60. I covered into the 20s and then got away from it. It's holding on to this moving average by a thread. I just, again, I'm not the best short out there. So to make a little cute money short it is cool. I didn't buy it yet, though. It still has a lot more to prove, but it is holding this long-term trend ever since this big gap and go way back when. And it's been much better to buy it on support versus short it, but sometimes trends do change, so be a little bit careful. This morning in the morning call, I talked about two stocks that were tight that could potentially give us a trade. One of them, the crossroads, which was Tesla. And Tesla had a nice day today. Tesla broke above this mini downtrend and held. Okay, this, to me is considered like a day one. Here's a feeler, so it should give you a day two or more, and maybe come up and at least test this 260-ish. If it were to open down, tomorrow and engulf this day, then there's nothing you could do about it. It just means it's choppy, crappy trading. But the good book says, you have a tight pattern like this going sideways. It closes near the highs. You take it out. If it's not like day 3, day 4, day 5, you're talking about a day one here. So why not? I guess maybe it's up $9 or so, so it could be off a little bit, so it should hold the top third. But I would be thinking that this thing, should have some continuation. Netflix we tried also, but Netflix failed. Netflix wasn't strong enough to get into the gap. We had a small trade above this prior pivot. I know that's on. I got long around 390 or 389 something. Sold some 392s, and then on the daily chart it failed. So nothing really you could do about that, except for wait to see what happens again. This was your first move. Okay, then it pulled back, flagged again, made a lower high. So you could have pretty much draw your triangle like this, and that was your stop right when it broke back below 390, and then we got back above it. That could have saved you some money on this way down. But overall, it was a quick move. Gave you another try into a lower high and then failed. So when you trade momentum names, you have to, watch out for stuff like that. Amazon, talked about the red dog reversal 4 days ago and how it could change if it clears this descending channel that some analysts out there like it for a fourth quarter play, because that little brown box shows up everywhere. And I know the same thing. My wife doesn't stop, doesn't go to a mall anymore like most people out there. It gave you a decent trade, and look how different this was just by, just to look at the 5 minute. This was your trigger above, bull flag, made a high, held in there, and then held the 21-day this entire time. And this actually happened to be on the heels of a day 4. Okay, this was the earnings low. Okay, that was when after a big move down, earnings were disappointing, but they sort of priced it in. You get move 1. Here is your red dog reversal. Some people are like, oh, what's a red dog reversal? Well, this is one right here. Traded below 280, 294, came back above it. So this was your entry. It also was a higher low versus this, and then boom, you had a really nice 4-day move. Do you take it home with size today into a 4-day move? Probably not. You look, I guess here, there's still some room into the moving averages. But it did close in the highs. There's some strength there. So I wouldn't have just blindly shorted it, but looks as if there's some room into this 316 area. Towards the end of the day, I got in Yelp. Stock is definitely broken, but you had a somewhat of a day one. Okay, I'm not in it from, this was a sell signal at the outside day there. Here's another sell signal that broke the upper flag, and then here was your big move down after earnings. A lot of these stocks are filling their earnings gap, so this could be a trade. It actually closed right at it, gave you a nice trigger here, and if you actually look at the volume in Yelp today, you could see that decent volume, nothing great, but if I was shorted, I would be like, oh, maybe this tries to move up, and as a trader, perhaps it tries to fill this gap up towards 65 to 68. Look what Priceline did. If you weren't caught in that earnings mess, there was a nice trade there. You had your day 1 traded into the gap, and you got your day 2, and it filled into the 200 days. So tactical trade here. You don't have to sit in these things for an entire year. You could sit in them for a day 1, 2, 3 type trade. You know, my strategies, I love to get a feeler when it wakes up on a day 1, add on a day 2, sell day 3, and then complain about it when you have a day 3, day 4, day 5 to the upside. As I'm talking about that, kind of like Baba. You know, Baba finally had your, a down day. You know, I talked about Baba to butt. My call was 120 in 6 months versus 60 like every basher out there, and it got to basically 120. I was 55 cents shy of that, and it happened in 6 weeks versus 6 months, and you know, got below support 1. This is our new point of reference right here, okay, which is today's low. You write that down, we'll see. You know, kind of like this. Remember this first down day, and then you had an inside day, another inside day, then it cleared it. You know, give this some space. See how long this is going to take to build, and whether it's descending in nature. You know, it could come down to this prior low here, which is 111.75, or at some point, the 8-day, which has been the roadmap for this move that it could also test, comes in around 110.50. So on this first down day, I don't think you need to be a hero. There was definitely some intraday money both ways, more on the short side than the long side, and I didn't really touch it today. So, you know, I got out of it on this day, you know, after a move from here, and after enjoying this first move, and after having options in the earnings time. So, you know, there's been lots of ways to maneuver it versus just bashing it and calling it a bubble stock and a stock for the Mobros or whatever it is. All these Mobro stocks tend to be the fastest moving, highest quality names I could pay over time. You know, whether it was Baidu, whether it was Google, all these things all started as new issues within the first 6 months to 18 months and took off. I know G-Pro's been wishy-washy, but this too was one of those names. So if you focused on it after it came public, it took a little bit of time, but this became an unbelievable trading vehicle and investment after this accumulation for multiple months, and then broke out above the IPO high and gave you almost more than a double. So I don't understand why people bash names like this, where this is where the growth is from, this is where the movement's from, and then once it broke the 8-day, it changed. Then you wait. Now it's, you know, somewhat building again, and it's taking its sweet, you know what, time. At this point, I don't think I've traded it in a few sessions, and you know, if this were to continue, it probably holds around here, and then at some point crosses this descending trend line, and then maybe becomes a Christmas play. Who knows? But as of now, this was a nice move, and the trend changed right there. So no need to bash these type of names. Approach them with the plan and make money. People have been bashing Tesla since $60 to $80 and went friggin' to 270 plus. So if you were able to stay solvent and short because of your thesis, I commend you, and you're still probably nowhere. So anyway, let's move on. Banks, yeah, you know, kind of wishy-washy. Doji close on Goldman, nothing special here. Still looks fine above the 8-day. Morgan, you know, flagging in front of the old highs. I'm still in this one. Bank of America, really not that exciting. I'm still just holding this one from down here. A little bit of a topping tail, so we'll see what happens next. And that's really it. Volume was not heavy today, and you know, market inched up again. You know, for those who have been trying to pick a top and not look for quality patterns, you know, that's, I guess, what you do. For guys like us who trade for alpha and cash flow, if you have short setups, take them. If you have long setups, try and go with them. If it looks like a day 1 and you can get day 2, day 3, you go with it. You know, if you know a pattern and you know a situation that's evolved from the past, whether it was a Baba way back when, and you could sink your teeth into it for a good move, good. Oh, you know what, Apple? Apple's my biggest position right now, and I didn't even go over it. Apple, you know, first day that it looks like it's getting ready to go and clear this flag. Let's get rid of the volume here. There wasn't any of it today, so that's one little, I guess, red flag, but you know what, I'll take it. You know, this to me looks like something you need to add to. Okay, this is when you had your big consolidation. That's when I tweeted about getting back long it for a swing trade at 101.50 because the earnings was out of the way. Big gap up. Had a nice move, and now it's consolidated. Today it closed above prior flag, and this should give you another move. Plus it's Tuesday. They love to run these things Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in order to get people to buy, you know, calls that are a lot higher. So this way the dealers could sell you premium, so then come Friday they could pull it in and have you lose. So here is a potential day 1, 6-day pause, letting the 8-day catch up. So we'll see what's next. So I have a tier 2, and we'll see what happens. If it's down tomorrow and engulfs this whole day, it is what it is. Okay, but I think this sideways pattern, a nice flag commitment pattern to this overall move is something that I look for in a name. Volume would have been better. A holiday would have been better that if we weren't a holiday today, but it is what it is. I went with it, and I think a lot of people on the VTF did it. So if you did also, the good book says, today you should be in more than you had yesterday based on the price pattern. And so I have, on the VTF you could look, or you'll see on my disclosures tomorrow morning in my Redler All Access note that I have, I think, 6, 7, 8 longs. I do have a hedge, a pretty decent size one just in case. Tomorrow, by the way, we have a great webinar with Jeffrey Cooper. I'm going to be hosting it with him. Go to the site, look for the link, and you should definitely register. There's one session at 4:30, another one just in case you're working still at 9:30. But he's been great. I've been actually following him ever since we acquired or merged with Minionville Pro, which is just the products. I've been watching him, and he's got a great push-out system where he sends out ideas during the day that are kind of packaged and spoon-fed to you, which is what traders like. We like to be spoon-fed, and all of a sudden, if you're thinking something and you get an alert from him, it gives you a little conviction. Maybe you do it versus not doing it, or maybe you do it with a bit more size because you have someone else knowledgeable in the business that is thinking the same thing. So, you should tune in if for anything, just learn something. And I can't believe it's only Tuesday. It feels like Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow morning at the call. Have a good night.